What is up, my dudes? Looking like an egg today. This is the best I could do. Today we are going to be wear testing the new Fenty Eaze drop. I know that you guys have been asking me so much. I hate being that influencer. I think you have so many requests. I asked for the requests. I was like, what do you guys want to see? And I would say 75% of the requests were for this. So this is Fenty's first ever skin tint. I have always really appreciated so many things about Fenty Beauty, but I've never been able to get into Rihanna's complexion products, and not for lack of trying, just because the finishes on them didn't really suit me. This seems really appealing to everything that I like to wear. So I have worn it once, I wore it yesterday, and full disclosure, it took me a little bit of work with some other dewy products to get it to the texture that I wanted on my face, but I also used a sponge, and I think that it absorbed a lot of the moisture out of the formula. The instructions say to use your hands or a brush, so we're going to try that today. And it also says that it is designed to work with your skincare and your primer and everything like that, and so I'm going to apply an illuminating primer to one side of my face, and we'll see if it makes a difference. So I'm gonna zoom you all in so that you can get lots and lots of 4K detail. We'll apply the rest of my makeup, chat about the product, and jump into the wear test. So let's jump in. Guten Morgen. So I'm going to be using the Brilliant Face Brightener from Thrive. It is the lightest weight illuminating primer that I have. I have a lot of products that you could call illuminating, and especially if you've watched my best and worst shimmer goose video, you would be very aware of that. But this one feels almost like water on the skin. It doesn't really add any texture, it just adds a luminosity and a little bit of hydration. It feels kind of like a lightweight skincare product, but it's not like thick and viscous like the Auric Glow Lust or the Becca, which is technically supposed to be a complexion product all on its own, the Light Shifter. So you can see nice illumination, and this is just my moisturizer and my Super Goop Daily Dose, which is not necessarily luminizing, but it is really bouncy. You know, it adds a lot of dewiness to the skin. And the only thing that I kind of have reservations about with the Eaze Drop formula is that it's supposed to be a natural finish, which is unusual. Not necessarily completely off the beaten path, but unusual for a skin tint to have a finish that is not super duper glowy dewy. So we're going to try and do this with my fingers. I'm gonna really shake the snot out of it because I don't want that to be the thing that makes it not perform, you know? All right, so I got shade 2, and the best I could tell yesterday, it was a really good match for me. I need to look and see exactly how many shades there are in this, but she is known. Miss Rihanna Fenty is known for her inclusivity, so she was the one who kind of broke the mold initially, putting out so many shades in her initial foundation release when she released Pro Filter. It was 40 shades, and it just blew everyone's minds. And you know, in the past I have said, in fact very recently, I've said that Black-owned brands do a really good job with nuance of undertones and awareness and inclusivity and all that, and not just having to do with skin tones, but also having to do with just the cool ideas behind like their blushes and their bronzers and stuff like that. But I really should have said, you know, non-white owned brands. Not that white owned brands can't do it, but I mean, Vesca is Asian owned, Phytosurgeons is Asian owned. There are a lot of really cool non-white owned brands that deserve credit too for having really, really great, like informed, innovative, Cosmetics, duh, you know, making colors that just have this brilliant nuance to them, just intelligence built in with this, which is something that I really appreciate. Okay, so I don't know if you blinked, you could have missed that, because that was wild. That was wild. I don't have streak one, not one on my face right now. I literally put that on my fingers, whoop, and it just, that was it. That was crazy, because yesterday it was a lot of work and it was really kind of frustrating because I felt like it was just going on really dry. Just don't use a sponge. Use your hands. That was so easy. And it's not a really like flawless coverage situation, which I wouldn't expect from a skin tint, but it is a flawless finish. Do you see that? It's kind of like the Chantecaille in the sense that it's not, I mean, it's not supposed to be dewy, but it's not dewy, you know? It's just like a satin skin finish. I enjoy that muchly. I enjoy that quite muchly. I need to find a towel. I should mention, I've also been on the hunt for good native North American indigenous owned brands, and I found a couple of them, but none of them that has had a product that I was immediately like drawn to or excited about, but I do have my eye out for that. So, you know, we are gonna put on concealer because this is, you know, they say it's designed to work with everything else in your routine, but that's a beautiful amount of coverage that's believable, that I would just kind of, you know, throw on blush, brow, mascara, lip gloss, leave the house, you know? And I mean, my face is already a little bit darker than my neck just because of my pigmentation, although the reason that I didn't do this review sooner was because I was going through a chemical peel, so I had to wait for that to get done, otherwise it's gonna make anything look bad, and there'll still be just like a little bit of peeling around my hairline and stuff, but yeah, if there's like a darkness to my face, that's how it always is. I feel like my face is just darker than my neck. Gonna go in with my Kosas. This is actually, I need to like see exactly how much is left in here, but just the most reliable concealer. Not that you can't use other concealers with this. Yesterday I used the Bare Minerals Bare Pro concealer. By the way, I got my liquid minerals in the mail and I need to go to Sephora and exchange it. I got way too deep of a shade. I don't know what got into me. Where is it? Well, I don't know where it is, but either way, all it took was to look at the bottle and I know it's way too dark. So I was like, what was I thinking? I don't know, maybe just the swatches online were misleading. I'm gonna pass the buck on the blame there. All right, because they said brush, I'm going to go in with a brush instead of a sponge here. Just my little Eco Tools round topped guy. Well, it is round. It looked slanted, but it's not. Yesterday, the way that I ended up doing it was to, you know, get all of my makeup on and everything. And I think the Bare Pro 2 just wasn't really designed for this face of makeup. It didn't give me enough coverage, but it gave me too much texture underneath my eyes. Concealer is so finicky. But what I ended up doing, out of just pure desperation, was just dousing my face in the Lila B Aglow Face Mist, which, you know, I'm not a huge fan of everything from Lila B, and I think a lot of it is overpriced. But, I mean, look how much of this I've used. I need to refill on this at the Sephora sale because it's so indispensable to my routine. It's so good. And what I found, little life hack, was, you know, when my cream face of makeup, I had no powder on my face, but when I found that, you know, at the end of it, it wasn't as dewy or as smoothed out as I wanted it to be, I just doused my face in that, took my damp sponge and just kind of pressed everything into my face again, and it rehydrated all the makeup that you know, normally it would melt a powder face of makeup altogether, but it just rehydrated all the makeup that I had on my face, and when I pressed it all in, blush and everything, it made everything go all one texture and really beautiful and dewy. So that was a really cool way to like save a face of makeup that wasn't really going well, you know? Okay, I'm going to zoom through my complexion pigment, you know, my contour, a little bit of bronzer. I'm gonna use as many Fenty products as I have. I'm going to use the Cheeks Out Cream Bronzer. I'm going to use the Cheeks Out Cream blushes. I'm gonna do a quick little eye look and everything, and then we will be right back. highlight so that you can see a little bit better what the actual finish is. Hopefully it's capturing enough detail. So this is the side that I use the illuminating primer. And then this is the side that I didn't. But it also had skin prep on it, just not that particular primer. So I don't know necessarily whether it made that much of a difference. I do feel like you can see a little bit of that like reflectiveness through it a little bit. So just, I guess that's the appeal of it, right? Is that it isn't full coverage, so you can see whatever's underneath it. And in this case, you can see that luminizing primer just a little bit underneath it, especially kind of under my eyes and stuff. But I don't know, the finish line, I don't have highlighter on. And I still ended up with like this really, really nice kind of cheekbone highlight naturally where, where the light hits my face. So that is honestly, like I like that a whole lot. I think that the shade is a great match. The Pro Filter did oxidize on me when I wore it, and so I'm curious to see if this oxidizes over time. I'm wondering if it already is. Anyway, I'm gonna move you guys on. And we'll talk about the actual claims. So I went to the actual Fenty website just to see if there was more information on the website that there is on Sephora. Me trying to read without my glasses. All right, Eaze Drop Blurring Skin Tint is $29.50 and you get 1.08 fluid ounces in this cute little bottle, and there are 9 times 3 is 27 minus 2 is 25 shades. There are 25 shades in this, and again, I got the shade 2, which is described as light with neutral undertones. I happen to agree. Flexible skin tint, easy to apply, soft, blurred a blurring skin tint that delivers smooth, instantly blurred skin in just a few easy drops. Can I just take a moment, a little sidebar, and mention how much I appreciate Rihanna's love for a pun, okay? We've got Mauve Wives, we've got Eaze Drop, like, and there's just a lot of them. There's a lot of them. I'm a big appreciator of a good pun, and hers are excellent. So the blur is real. Rihanna wanted to create a light coverage, easy to apply, flexible skin tint that instantly evens out your complexion and give a flattering blurred effect. Eaze Drop with hydrating quick blur complex is perfect for a no makeup look, or sorry, I don't have my glasses on and they'd mess my makeup up, and so I like to hold off on it for the beginning of the wear test. Anyway, I'm just going to suffer over here. Is perfect for a no makeup look, or for when you want to look effortlessly put together in 25 adaptable shade options for all instant blurring skin tint, 25 flexible shades, buildable light to medium long wear coverage, so they are claiming that it is long wear, with quick blur complex for hydrating diffused effect, smooth texture that layers well with primer and skincare, applies well with fingers or brush, humidity, sweat, and transfer resistant formula. I don't live in Texas anymore, so there won't be that much of an intense heat and humidity wear test thing going on, but oh, Fenty Beauty is 100% cruelty free. So they aren't certified by any of the you know, organizations out there, but you know, I've gotten to a point where I just take brands at their word. That could be wrong, but that is just where I'm at. So as far as the claims are concerned, I am completely on board with, you know, the finish that they claim, the adaptability of the shades, I guess. I just think that I particularly happen to nail my shade. And the cooperation with a primer or with just your skincare, it seems to be very agreeable in that sense. But I think that the main thing that just blew my mind was, I mean, first of all, the difference between applying it with my fingers today versus a sponge yesterday, but also when I did apply it with my fingers, it went on more easily than the Kosas tinted oil. Like, it was just boom, like it just, whoop, you know, evened out, self-leveling, no streaks, no nothing. It was totally mindless. It was awesome, and it is the right amount of coverage for a no makeup look, which, if that's what she, you know, that's what she says she was trying to achieve, it's so much different from the other complexion products that she has released thus far. I think that this was a really good, perfect level of coverage to, you know, to go for a skin tint. It's just right, you know? I still see my skin through it. I still see some freckles. Yesterday I did apply Freck on top of it and I felt like it genuinely looked like skin when I did that. I'm not gonna do that today just because I don't wanna like mess up the wear test, but it worked really beautifully with that too. And in my experience yesterday, after putting all of, you know, the face spray and stuff on to make it dewier, I did find that it wore in instead of wearing off, so it didn't show big textural differences where it did tend to wear off on my face or anything, because it is pretty good at mimicking a skin texture. And we will see today how, you know, all of the pigment products on my face, the blush and the bronzer and the contour and everything, wear over the day. See if it, you know, sells us out at any point, because it does claim to be long wearing. Oh, I also think that they're well priced. I really do. And yeah, if I love this, then it will be going in my recommendations for the Sephora sale as well. So the stakes are high. I'm gonna go ahead and wear this for the rest of my day, and I will see you guys in like 8 or 9 hours. Greetings. If you hear a low murmur through the wall, my husband's giving a very important presentation to his entire company, so I'm going to try and stay a little quieter than usual. Some people think I'm yelling the entire time anyway. I have been living my life in this foundation all day. Let's talk about it. I've had a chance to look at it, but I want to like, you know, get really close to it, especially now that I have my glasses off, and I want to do it with a clean mirror. I'm disgusting. Okay, so we're gonna give her a pass on a couple of things. The main one being that I'm coming off of a chemical peel. So anywhere it's like clinging to dry spots, it's not really clinging to dry spots. Like I went and paid money to have someone peel my face, you know? So like everything's a little bit dry. It's not super ideal. And you know, we're just kind of going with the flow because no one's ever having like a perfect skin day. So I'm gonna move the camera a little closer here. And I'll get my light. Actually, that's better. That's good. Okay, so you can see it up close, and I reach up, I touch my face a lot. That's the other thing. That's the other grace that we're going to grant it. I reach up and touch my face a lot. I had fewer urges to reach up and touch my face while I was wearing this because it is not anywhere near as sticky, dewy, balmy, movable as any other skin tint that I've worn, with the exception of the Chantecaille. I'll get to that, but I would describe this as my thesis statement for how I will go forward thinking of this foundation or this skin tint as a transitional skin tint for people who are not familiar with skin tints. Like, it's people who are more familiar with wearing fuller coverage and maybe a more mattified satin finish, and they're trying to move towards wearing less makeup and wearing less coverage. That's how this wears. It really wears like a full beat lover's skin tint. And it wears, I think, I mean, I can't really predict because I don't have oily skin, but I think that this would work better for oily skin than a lot of the really dewy skin tints out there that are meant to be super hydrating, because they can get really, really sticky. So that was kind of the cool thing, I felt like, because, you know, it said, oh, it's gonna be transfer resistant, it's gonna be long wearing, but I noticed that like this wasn't transfer resistant, and I was like, oh, that's the concealer. Like, that's the Kosas concealer, just, you know, starting to get a little bit oily on my face over the day just because it's a little bit more emollient. But the dry down on the Fenty is remarkable. And for something that isn't super duper 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 hydrating, because my skin will, you know, drink up most of the like emollients in a product, or the oils or the waxes or whatever, a lot of times products that aren't super hydrating will start to particulate on my face. You know, even if I don't powder, you'll be able to look really close and see it breaking up around my mouth and like the parts of my face that tend to bend a lot and that are extra thirsty. And even though this is not a super fresh drink of water kind of foundation, not in finish, not in texture, not in the wear time promises, you know, most of the time we don't expect something that is that texture to be long wearing, with a few exceptions, but you know, like the Hydromaniac, amazing, but you know, most of them, no. But for all of those caveats, it still didn't do anything really tragic on my skin that you might expect a product that is not necessarily meant for dry skin that would typically do to my skin. You know, normally it would kind of look like, you're wearing the wrong foundation, you know? But I feel like it had so much fidelity. And most of the time these things do kind of, I say wear in instead of wear off. This wore off, but you can't really tell. Cause I, you know, like I said, I reach up and touch my face a lot. Like, so on my nose and like around my mouth and stuff like that, it kind of wore off. But there's something about it that is so, like what's left on my face is still so similar to the way it looked when I put it on that I don't know, it didn't oxidize. The texture stayed the same. It didn't get all greasy and dewy. And if I wanted to wear it dewier, I can still add something like the Lila B on top of it and get that really, really extra bouncy texture out of it if that's what I want. But this is, it's unique. Okay, I always talk about how I almost dread doing my like best and worst skin tint update videos and things like that because, and the same thing goes for cheek products a lot of times too. There's really, really great ones and then there's really, really bad ones, but then there's like a lot in the middle. Like there's mainly the middle. They all just kind of rush towards the middle of being like, I can't rank these because they all kind of exist in the same gray area of being fine. This exists in its own kind of category because I don't know of anything else that wears this lightly so light. Like I don't notice it on my face. Normally wear tests totally stress me out throughout the day because I am just conscious about like, oh, is it falling apart? Should I behave like I normally behave and touch my face a lot or blow my nose or whatever, or should I and not touch up, or should I touch up, you know, and like they make me a nervous wreck. This, I kind of like forgot I was doing a wear test at one point. I was like, oh, I can't wait to take a shower. Oh, I can't take a shower. I'm doing a wear test, you know? And it's because this is just incredibly, incredibly light on the skin. And I mean, the blush stuck around for the most part. My eyeshadow and everything stuck around for the most part. We didn't end up with anything doing anything greasy and weird that made stuff run all over the place. And what's special and unique about it is the fact that it wears like a satin face of makeup that is not full coverage, but it doesn't drink all the moisture out of your skin. It doesn't go to like a powder finish. That's something that I've encountered, this sort of an issue with the ColourPop Pretty Fresh. Goes on beautifully and it doesn't get super, super dewy, but it starts to particulate pretty badly on me and it will gather in spots and it just gets very noticeable because of that. The one thing that I would compare the texture of this to, because as you know, as I'm going through my day, I'm thinking, how do I make this the most useful video for people watching it that know other things on my channel and want to know within the context of all the other crap that I'm trying right now, especially when it comes to skin tints, this blur of skin tints, like what makes this different and how does it compare to the other things that I like? Your girl ate some jelly beans. I need to chill out on the Easter candy, guys. It's making me feel like a blob. You know how sugar just makes you feel crappy? It's not even about like what it's doing to your waistline or your teeth. It just makes you feel really sluggish. The two things that I would compare this to are the typology right here. You almost are never gonna even know if it focuses. Okay, the typology, this right here is the Fenty, and then this right here is that Chantecaille Future Skin, which if you didn't watch that video, I probably spent 50% of it doing caveats of just like, I totally understand if this is completely ridiculous to you because there's almost no coverage, but it's a very skincare oriented foundation, and for some people it is, you know, the holy grail. So the thing that makes the Chantecaille so unique is that even though it is a cushion skin tint, it is matte, not matte, but it's not dewy, and it manages to have a really beautiful camouflaging, blurring coverage on the face without having any silicones in it. And I do think that the Fenty's got silicones in it. They don't claim to be clean in any way, but the typology also doesn't have silicones in it, so that sets those two apart. But this is the typology, and it is going to be the same coverage level, I would say, as the Fenty, but it is going to stay a little bit dewier on the skin. So I would say that the Fenty is, if you wanted typology level coverage with the Chantecaille finish, and a much better price than the Chantecaille. The Chantecaille is $128, it's ridiculous. It does come with a zipper cushion, but it's still ridiculous. This is $25.80, but they only have 6 shades. This has 25 shades. So you're so much more likely to be able to find your shade in this, and I really feel like it meets right there in the middle of a texture that works on a lot more skin types and a coverage level that a lot more people think of as I'm actually putting on makeup, because this is just, it's almost just like this whisper on the skin. So, you know, if that's appealing to you, I do want to couch it in just the skin type and climate caveat as well. This pushes the limit almost of my dry skin. So if you're living in a really, really dry place and you have a hard time getting your skin to stay moist throughout the day, stay, you know, hydrated, and you know, already have dry skin, live in a dry climate or something, this might be too matte for you. You know, this might be too satin for you, but you can also combine it with a lot of things. You can put oil on your skin first. You can spray it with something like this if that's worth it to you, especially if this is like one of the only lines where you can find a shade for you. It could be worth it. But if you are someone who has super oily skin, I would say try it. Because it's not gonna do that thing that the Pro Filter does, where when you do get oily through the day, it completely sells you out, because then you have two separate textures on your face, where it's like, you know, your cheeks are still really, really matte and then your T-zone is just an oil slick. This has enough balance to it where I feel like it's going to wear a lot better on people who do have normal to oily skin types. And that would just be my personal theory. So definitely watch other reviews, not just mine, if you do have oily skin, because I'm obviously not the best person in the world to be giving oily skin advice. But I do think that this is really, really unique and special, and I'm going to continue using it because there is a space in my routine for it. There is a gap in my skin tint collection that this now occupies. Nothing else is quite like this. So that is very, very cool to me. So little close up here, get underneath the eyes and everything. Oh, and I don't really think the primer made any kind of consequential difference, especially as far as the performance of this product. I think that it would have performed fine no matter what. You know, I don't think it needed a primer, I guess. So those are my thoughts, guys. I genuinely was not expecting to like this, and I didn't want to come in with a bunch of negative expectations or anything. And of course, when I spend my money on something, I want to like it. But I saw a few people swatch it in Sephora and they were like, oh, it's super matte, and you know, oh, I'm not gonna like this, whatever. And I still just kind of suspended my opinion, because I was like, I understand it's probably going to be different than what I expect it to be, but I still really, really want to like it, and I do really, really like it. I do. I think it's a great price. I think it's a great shade range. I think it's a really unique product, and it feels Fenty. It still feels Fenty, even though it is light coverage. So I love that for her. Thank you, Rihanna. And if you guys found this valuable, do give it a thumbs up. If you want to keep hanging out with me on this channel, hit the button down below and subscribe. I would love it if you guys did. Thank you so much for watching and for hanging out with me today. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.